XM Fly.
A channel featuring hip-hop and R&B from the 90s and 2000s. To listen to Sirius XM Fly, activate your subscription now by calling 844-711-8800 or head over to SiriusXM.com to sign up quickly.
Looking for a unique point of view on pro sports game analysis? Then tune in to Big C Sports Podcast on iHeartRadio. Get real sports talk worldwide. Miss a live episode? Replay it on demand on the iHeartRadio app. Join Big C, former NFL player and longtime award-winning radio broadcaster, covering all sports including NFL, NBA, MLB, UFC, NCAA, USL, and more. Tune in live or on demand on iHeartRadio Podcast today.
There you go now.
I think I'm recording.
Oh, let's see.
Google Big C Sports for a unique point of view on NCAA, pro sports teams, and big-time players. Tune in now to Big C Sports Podcast. You get real sports talk worldwide. Even if you miss a live episode, you can replay it on demand. Google Big C Sports. Longtime award-winning radio broadcaster covering all sports, including NFL, NBA, MLB, UFC, NCAA, USL, and more. Google the Big C Sports Podcast live or on demand today. Do it now.
If you've been thinking about buying a home, you need to be in the zone, the home buying zone. You need a game plan to win in this great real estate market. The Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage has all your bases covered. Whether you're a first-time home buyer, purchasing your dream home, refinancing, consolidating debt, or even considering a reverse mortgage, contact the Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage today. They have the lowest closing costs and they'll close your loan on time, guaranteed, or they'll pay your first mortgage payment. And they even have a 3.5% purchase down payment grant that can get you into a home with little money out of your pocket. It doesn't get more clutch than that, folks. Score big on the biggest purchase of your life. Call Equity Zone Mortgage today at 1-800-772-8624. That's 1-800-772-8624. Or apply online at equityzonemortgage.com and tell them Big C sent you, as heard on the Big C Sports Podcast. License number 01814.
Rondo Deportes, Bonjour, Vini Vini Vici. Let's get ready to rumble. Welcome to the show. My name is Austin of Big C Sports. This is Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to me, and people who love the universe, and that would include you. What a beautiful day in the neighborhood. A beautiful day in the neighborhood. Won't you be my neighbor? Shut up! Fool, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. As I said many times before, I was nominated a neighborhood spokesperson. My job is to bring the neighborhood together, and some people don't appreciate it when it's as early as 3 o'clock in the morning. Well, you should have not voted for me. You should have counted all the votes. You got to count all the votes if you want to get it to sleep in the morning. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. What a beautiful, happy Friday, the 27th of September, 2024. Today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. When you go by and test drive yours, tell them sit you where the good Lord split you. And hopefully the good Lord didn't split you too wide. If you want a wider split, you don't have to get an injection. Just keep going to those fast food eateries, the ones that give you a wider split. I can verify it. You want a wider split, just keep going to those fast food lines. That stuff works if you want a wider split. If you want a smaller split, then maybe don't spend so much time in those fast food line eateries. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. And I'm speaking from experience. Speaking from experience, I want to say what a beautiful day, Big C Sports Podcast. I have some Big C's Friday Night Lights. It's high school football, and then, of course, I have some good old boys that are playing college football on Saturday. And then the big boys, they kick off making big-time plays with NFL football on Sunday. Had a game last night, the Cowboys. They beat the Giants, and I think they had the most streaming viewers in the history of streaming. I think it was 16 million people that streamed that game. Obviously, New York City's going to watch the Cowboys and the Giants. What a good game it came down to. If you like field goals, nothing wrong with that. But with Big C Sports Podcast, number one, I thank God. I'm going to start saying thank God for the Big C Sports Podcast. I want to say I always produce the show. I direct the topics. I broadcast all the shows. I do all the sound effects based on the platform provided by the agency. We could all have more laughter in our lives. I know I could use more laughter. And then the stats are provided. I do the storytelling. And then I do the play-by-play. 1st and 10, 50-yard line, 5 wide outs, 5-man front by the Giants. Cowboys shotgun formation. The snap, Dak Prescott rolling to his right. He looks, he throws downfield. The ball is caught. Caught for the touchdown. Touchdown, Big C. 50 yards. How about those Cowboys? How about those Cowboys? They took those Cowboys into New York City last night. You know, Cowboys, they normally ride a horse. And so when the Cowboys got off the plane and they went to play the New York Giants, some of the Cowboys thought, wow, there's a really some nice hospitality. And so some of those Cowboys, they were putting a saddle on top of some cows and some horses. And somebody said, those are rats. What? How about those Cowboys? They have rats in New York City as big as horses. they were riding rats. That's not a cowboy. That's a rat boy. They got to get rid of those rats in New York City. You see the fangs on those rats? It's like Jurassic Park then hit New York City. But in all seriousness, I do want to just thoughts and prayers for people dealing with the hurricane that's heading from the south up the east coast. It looks like they've canceled some games. Some high school games got canceled. Some college games got put on pause. I don't think they put on any NFL games on pause, but they did have some Major League Baseball games that were put on pause or even moved to a different site. So hoping that everyone's doing great in Denver Hills, the south part of the United States. Hope everybody's doing with that. But I want to say with Big C Sports Podcast, I love saying I have the 29 podcast platforms that carry the show out of New York City. The show's uploaded to those. And then 4 TV platforms, Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV. And then number 10, I never missed a show since creating Big C Sports with the crew back in the days of Salem Media. And now we have people who miss practice. I'm not talking about the game. I'm talking about practice. We have people who miss practice. Looks like a couple of good old boys. Devontae Adams has a hitch in his giddy up, a hamstring injury. And then also, when you look at the 49ers touchdown, Christian McCaffrey, he has a hitch in his giddy up. So that's going to be something they're going to miss those teams over the weekend, those games being played. But we wish them all the best. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. I want to say thank you to Xfinity, Comcast TV, and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like in Genesis 1:3, where God said, reparations now, reparations forever. And then God said, let there be light. I want to shine light on the world with reparations. There's a lot of things going on in the world of CJAC. It's a coalition for a just and equitable California, doing updates weekly on what's going on with reparations in the state of California. Also, go to nationalblackwallstreetproject.com. That's nationalblackwallstreetproject.com. And you can also see there's more people out there doing part to get the mind focused on reparations, which is called reparative justice. California Governor Gavin Newsom. Now listen to this. He said he apologized for the state of California's involvement in slavery. And when slaves ran away, they came to California. They were returned to the draconian slaveholders. Now, California Governor Gavin Newsom, he said he apologized in writing. Reginald Sawyer, I guess they put together a bill to apologize. But he doesn't think is necessary for reparations at this time, because he vetoed the bills. Senate Bill 1050, that's passed 56-0, actually 72-0 vote. And then Senate Bill 1403 and 1331, he pressured the California Legislative Black Caucus not to even put them on his desk, because rumor has it he was going to veto the bill. So why would he not want to vote on those bills, but he signed an apology in the law? What are you apologizing for? HR 194 talks about that apology also. But why would you apologize for something and then not do the reparations by executive order? If you don't believe that reparations are due, then why you issue an apology? Why you issue an apology for something you don't think is due or you didn't want to vote on? That's a shame. Here's the same governor that got a $4 million PPE money for his winery. $4 million. Only has about 14 employees. Most wineries got about $1 million with 100 employees. He didn't veto that. Sometimes things are just twisted. I say sometimes things are just twisted. I always told you the dirt would come out in the wash. We are not a dictatorship. We're a state of the people and a country of the people. So it's not over. There's some legal things that are being done to make sure that reparations is put on top of the minds of the politicians who have the decency to do the right thing for people that voted for you. I also want to make sure that I pay homage to the Veterans Crisis Hotline because they really are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help. I love doing that because a mind is a terrible thing to waste. And so is a vote on reparations. The Veterans Crisis Hotline, they will stand on their head to get our veterans some help. You know anybody going through issues, pick up the phone, call 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. And when you do, you want to give it some praise because we all need somebody to lean on, and it sure is good when somebody's leaning back. I got a lot of stuff to get into. I'm so appreciative of so many things, and I gotta get into my infomercial that I've been doing every day for all the last couple of months now because it's growing leaps and bounds. I have people calling from Florida want to know how can they get asset protection. All fair and level work. Well, pay attention because I'm going to tell you something that's just as important. In fact, it's more important than who won the game. A guide to protect, preserve, and transfer wealth. Resource Development Consulting, Inc., in conjunction with the law offices of Scott Thibodeau, attorney at law, and attorney George Loans, Esquire, The Missing Link, Long-Term Care, Solutions by the Book, over 3 decades of experience, helping seniors to get their benefits. Medicare and You, taking care of tomorrow. In California, it's called Medi-Cal, and other states it's called Medicaid. That's important because, why is it important, Big C? Because your family and spouse can avoid the spend down for nursing home costs. You can find out your options, 800-772-8624, 800-772-8624, 800-772-8624, and just tell them Big C sent you. I promise to you. Now pay attention. I've been taking some speed reading classes because sometimes I've been told I'm not getting enough stuff in. You want to get it all in. If that makes sense to you. I want to get it all in, and I've been told I haven't been getting enough stuff in. So I took this speed reading class. And you know it's working. What? What's working, Big C? I said the speed reading class is working. I promise to you, specialized to navigate and maximize long-term care benefits, protection of your assets without the spend down. Is that Aflac? No, Aflac's the duck. That's gap insurance. A duck can't protect its own assets, let alone defend you against those big rats that are running around that the cowboys thought were horses. You know the rat's big. If a cowboy said, they're so nice in New York City, they even got us some horses to ride to the game. If somebody said, Dak, that's not a horse, that's a rat. That's a big old rat, boy. You got to be careful. It's like Jurassic Park. And people in New York, you know I'm telling the truth. Scared, my dog. All free level war. Protection of your assets. All paperwork and communication with all government agencies are handled by our staff of entitlement specialists. Ongoing consulting to provide updates as necessary. Benefits covering skilled nursing facilities, prescription medications, medical equipment costs, and more. Have you ever known anyone needing skilled nursing facilities? Have you ever known anyone dealing with medical prescriptions? Have you ever known anyone needing medical equipment costs and the help with that. But not only that, protection of your assets, including your home, thereby allowing you to leave a legacy for your family, avoiding the nightmare of debt brought by the government's estate recovery program called probate. You better believe it. If you don't have a will and a trust, at the end of life, the probate court, they will have a will for you. And you will not like it. It reminds me of a good old boy who had a commercial back in the day, and a man took his car into the mechanic, and he was told mechanics, he was told, the man called the mechanic, he wanted to take his car in for something was twisted in his transmission. So the mechanic told him it'd just take 2 days to fix it, and he told him 2 days, give me 2 days, I'll have it done. So about a week later, the guy calls the mechanic, and he said, well, you said it would be done in 2 days, it's been a week. And the mechanic said, well, I got my best guys on it right now. There was a mechanic sitting around eating lunch on this car. If we learn to train rats, we don't have to worry about transmission problems. Be careful, guys. He said it'd take a couple days. It took a whole week. He said my best guys are on it right now. Be careful. Protection of your assets. That's what the probate court does for you. You know, it can take up to 2 years or more for probate. Some good old boys, some lawyers, they told me one time, they said, Big C, you know that 7 out of 10 Americans do not have a will and a trust? I said, oh, you must be out of your fucking mind. They said, no, Big C, seriously. 7 out of 10 Americans do not have a will and a trust. Especially long-term care entitlements. We do that with the RDC team, a one-time processing fee versus monthly insurance premiums for the rest of your life. I'm not done yet. I said I'm not done yet. Not only that. So why would I need a trust, Big C? You keep talking about a trust. Well, I'm glad you asked, because you need asset protection. Like the New York Giants last night, the offensive line, they didn't provide enough asset protection for their quarterback. Jones was running for his life. Cowboys had a great defense. So the trust protects its insurance coverage required by law, general liability, workers' compensation, lawyers specializing in living trust, Medicaid or Medi-Cal planning for long-term care, avoid probate. Avoid probate, yes. Life insurance, veterans benefits, aid and attendance, pre-planning, and avoid the look-back period. What about fixed assets, Big C? Does a trust protect that? I'm glad you asked. A trust protects your bank account. You know, it's the same thing those attorneys come after if you don't have asset protection. They're called ambulance chasers. And one of the first things they do when they find out that you don't have a trust and you don't put your assets in a trust, they come after your bank account, your checking account, your savings account, your money market account, your certificates of deposit, life insurance with cash values, your fixed indexed annuities. What about variable assets, Big C? Does a trust protect that? Well, I'm glad you asked, because a trust also protects your real estate, qualified money, IRAs, 401ks, and other investments. For example, avoid capital gains. Let's say you buy a house for $100,000, and 1 year later that house appreciates to $1 million. Well, that's a $900,000 capital gains, according to some real estate brokers that say whatever they got to say to make the sale. It takes a long time for that house to appreciate from $100,000 to $1 million, but that's a $900,000 capital gains. You avoid that when your property's in a trust. Attention business owners, you got to find out your other options to protect what your insurance does not cover. 800-772-8624, 800-772-8624. And when you reach out to them, just tell them Big C sent you. Well, Big C, I understand you keep talking about trust. It's Big C and the RDC team. But let me ask you this. Why would we trust you? My friend, he also does trust. Well, I'm glad you asked. Well, when someone says they want you to do business with them, oftentimes you want to ask, do you have a reference? What's a reference, Big C? A reference is someone who's already dealt with those people. And you want to see if the reference is going to refer you to that same person. Well, we have the reference. I got to say this part because a lot of the high school cheerleaders, they're saying it right now tonight for the football game. We have references? Yes, we do. We have references? How about you? See, I thought that part was funny, a little clever. We have references? Yes, we do. We have references. How about you? They say, we've got spirit. Yes, we do. We've got spirit. How about you? And so we have references also. Our references are the late James Gomez, who advised 4 California governors and led change in California's nursing homes. He was also the CEO of the California Association of Health Facilities. He endorsed the RDC team. But not only that, he served on Golden One's board of directors for 21 years. And it's in writing. It's in writing. But not only that, we have the late Robert Carlson. He was the top legal counsel for CalPERS, one of the largest employers in the state of California. He endorsed the RDC team. But not only that, we have Leon Woods, who works with many of the top lobbyists in California. He endorsed the RDC team. As I already mentioned, Attorney George Jones, the chair of the California Black Chamber of Commerce, also California Black Chamber of Commerce Foundation. He endorses the RDC team. Attorney Scott Thibodeau, one of the top estate planners in Northern California. He endorses the RDC team. But not only that, we have Miss Cheryl Brown. She's the chair of the California Commission on Aging. She endorses the RDC team. But not only that, we have Mr. Ray De La Cruz. He's the CEO of Resource Development Consulting. Been doing this thing over 34 years and counting. But not only that, we have Mr. Alex De La Cruz. He's the founder of American Veteran Benefits. He endorses the RDC team. But not only that, we have Big C, Charlton Curry, co-chair of the National Black Wall Street Project.com. But not only that, business development consultant for the RDC team. But not only that, owner of Big C Sports Podcast Corporation. I endorse the RDC team, the number one sports show in the universe. NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball. Those athletes know what I'm saying is true. Just like O.J. Simpson protected his assets. If you don't have a trust in your will, you know, people are going to come after you. Those Darth Vader attorneys, they're called Darth Vader attorneys. They want you to join the dark side. And they want to come after all your assets. You got to have your stuff on the will and trust. Look at P. Diddy Combs right now, what he's going through. People coming after all his assets. You have due process, no matter what people think. You got to have asset protection. You got to have that. And we have that with the RDC team. But not only that, we have Double O. She's the payout committee for the National Black Wall Street Project.com. Not only that, business development consultant with the RDC team. But not only that, has her own economics awareness talk show called Let's Eat. You can Google it on accesssacramento.org or KUBU 96.5 FM or eatprivate.net. You can get us some praise. I say give it praise. In fact, stand up and give me some cheers. Stand up for the kickoff. Well, that's my story. And I'm sticking with it. I love bringing you the Big C team with the RDC team. And now, as I always tell you, I want you to hear, before we get into standing up for the kickoff, I want you to hear from the greatest speaker in the history of this country when it comes to reparations, so that African Americans can make the same kind of money that these sports leagues and these college universities make when you come watch these young black boys play, men and women. They get paid. Listen up, California Governor Gavin Newsom. You issued an apology for California's complicity to slavery. Listen to what Dr. King said you should do.
Martin Luther King, we had a conversation a couple days ago about handouts and how these right-wing memes, these Republican memes, have infiltrated the Democratic debate because of insane trade policies and because of Reaganomics. And Martin Luther King spoke to this. Jim and Shane, this is clip number 4. Martin Luther King spoke to this sometime back in the early 60s. And I thought this was a really interesting quote.
Listen up,
Here.
Gavin Newsom.
The problem. At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps.
Now think about the California governor who got the PPE loan of $4 million for his winery and then would not vote on reparations for descendants of child slavery. Listen to more of Dr. King. Are you listening?
This is what we are faced with, and this is the reality. Now, when we come to Washington in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
From his speech, The Two Nations of Black America, and it's absolutely brilliant. And the next time some white person talks about, well, I pulled myself up by my bootstraps and my family did too, especially the Bundy boys. I mean, you know, here's Martin Luther King, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. talking about how basically whites stole the West from the Indians with the complete, and didn't just steal it. I mean, murdered them he murdered the Indians in the process, and did not give any of these benefits to African Americans for 100 years in this country. You know, it's a strong case for reparations or some variation on it, for rebuilding our cities, for doing right after having done wrong for so many centuries. It is a very, very strong case for that.
This past Tuesday, on Tuesday night, I was watching a debate. I kind of felt the same way when I was watching the debate, the way some of you all just responded, but God placed something on my heart that I would like to share with everyone here and those who are online with us today. Politicians never do the right thing unless a moral witness, a prophetic wing, or an ethical enclave stand before them and demand change. Abraham Lincoln did not free the slaves because he felt like it, but he was forced into glory by the moral witness of the likes of Frederick Douglass. FDR did not create the New Deal because it was a good idea, but he was forced into glory by the moral witness of people who demanded action during the Great Depression. Lyndon Baines Johnson did not sign the Civil Rights Bill and the Civil Rights Act because it was a nice idea, but he was forced into glory by the work of Martin Luther King Jr., John Lewis, and Fannie Lou Hamer, and others. Unfortunately, in our American political system, candidates and parties are beholden to special interest. But never forget, we the people have power. We the people, black people, kissed by nature's sun, have power. We have power in our vote. We have power in organizing. We have power with our pocketbook. We have power with our voice. And we have spiritual power connected to our faith. Black people have historically saved America from itself. Black people have historically been a moral witness demanding this democracy include all who yearn to breathe free. I believe the choice this November is not between two candidates, but two visions of this nation. One vision romanticizes the Confederate mythology that was birthed from the antebellum South. Another vision still sees America as the yet-to-be United States of America. I cannot support any vision. You can vote for whoever you want to, but I cannot support any vision that speaks to making America great again, because my conscience and my soul tell me when a person states America with the past tense language was great, I must speak up and say, what year are you talking about? Was it before I could vote? Or was it a year I was considered nothing more as chattel? Was it a year when women did not have the right to vote? Or was it the year before unions had been organized? I cannot support anyone's false nostalgia of white supremacy. I believe democracy is on the ballot. For some, and I understand it, The only issue is the horror, tragedy, pain, and destruction of human thriving in the occupied territory we call Gaza. For others, it is Gaza, the Congo, the Sudan, and Haiti. But I say to us all, we must look at all issues, foreign and domestic. For the question before us is, what will this country be? Not for our children, not for our grandchildren, but for our great-grandchildren. We must, as a church, and when I speak of the church, I said we must, as a church, the black church collectively, not churches that just have black people in them. I'm talking about the black church of Frederick Douglass, the black church of Harriet Tubman, the black church of W.E.B. Du Bois and the souls of black folk, the black church of A. Philip Randolph, the black church of Ida B. Wells, the black church of Ella Baker, the black church of James Lawson, the black church of Willie Barrow, the black church of Jesse Jackson, the black church of Jeremiah Wright, the black church of James Cone, and the black church of Martin Luther King Jr. The question for us today, since democracy is on the ballot, is will we stand up for the 295,000 people who die as a result of poverty every year? The question for us today, since democracy is on the ballot, is will we speak for the 87 million people who are uninsured in this nation? The question for us today, since democracy is on the ballot, will we stand up for people such as members in this congregation who have to decide whether to pay their rent or purchase prescription drugs? The question for us today, since democracy is on the ballot, will we stand with our union sisters and brothers who are under attack by corporations who want to outlaw unions? For those who do not know, unions ended child labor. Unions created the 40-hour work week. Unions created the 8-hour work day. Unions provided unemployment benefits, workers' compensation, and your retirement benefits. That is because of the work of unions. The question for us today, since democracy is on the ballot, will we fight for HBCUs? They are being attacked across this nation, where conservative legislatures want the land that is our historically black colleges sit upon. They are coming after North Carolina A&T. They're coming after North Carolina Central University. They're coming after Florida A&M. They're coming after Alabama A&M, Jackson State, Albany State, Fort Valley Southern, any state institution that is a historically black college. Since democracy is on the ballot, will women, let me say it again, will women, not men, will women, not men, but will women have the autonomy to make medical decisions about their body, and will people of faith be present to offer compassion, love, prayer, and support regardless of their decision? Will we fight to ensure that every returning citizen has full citizenship rights after they've served their time in prison? Since democracy is on the ballot, will we seek to abolish the penal system of incarceration that is destroying our community? Since democracy is on the ballot, will we vote to protect our right to vote across this nation? Conservative legislators are passing laws to restrict voting rights and gerrymandering districts to dilute black political power. Since democracy is on the ballot, will we fight to protect this planet as we are seeing the effects of climate change right here in Chicago? Since democracy is on the ballot, you must know there are 46 judicial appointments the next president will make that will reshape voting rights, unionization, homelessness, and even possibly outlaw historically black colleges. Since democracy is on the ballot, I'm not a one-issue voter, but I'm a voter who votes to protect black issues. Since democracy is on the ballot, I'm asking today, right now, everyone in this village, if you are a registered voter, if you are an organizer, if you are part of a union, if you lead a block club, if you are a local activist, it's time for us to get together as a community and collectively as a church and do what our ancestors have done generation after generation and save this nation from itself. democracy is on the ballot.
Reparations now, reparations forever.
Now, I said what I said, and I ain't taking it back.
Reparations now, reparations forever. Let's get ready to rumble. I love what I say. Welcome to the show. That's Reverend Dr. Otis Moss III out of Chicago, talking about democracy and what we do in this country as reparations are necessary. There's a lot on the line. This is not your granddaddy's sports show. I want to do things that benefit our country. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. I love saying Big C Sports Podcast. I got Big C's Friday Night Lights. Big C, I thought I was in church. You are in church on the Big C Sports Podcast. But I got Big C's high school football Friday Night Lights, from the sea to the shining sea, from Dim Deer Hills to Dim Deer Hills. I got number 10 in the country, Mission Viejo of Southern California. They are 5-0. I got number 9, St. Thomas Aquinas out of Florida. They are 4-1. I have number 8, North Shore High School out of Houston, Texas. They are 3-0. Number 7, Carrollton High School of Georgia. They are 6-0. Number 6, IMG Academy out of Braden in Florida. They are 4-1. I have number 5, Bishop Gorman out of Las Vegas, Nevada. They are 3-1. Number 4, Duncanville High School of Duncanville, Texas. They are 3-0. Number 3, Milton High School of Georgia. They are 5-0. Number 2, St. John Bosco of Bellflower, California. They are 5-0. And I have number 1, defending high school football national champions, the Modern Day Monarchs out of Santa Ana, California. They are 4-0. As we always tell you, play safe, play fun, play hard. Don't let your friends drink and drive. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. We just need some leaders. We want leaders. We want people who want to lead. Don't let your friends drink and drive. Please don't do that. It's an easy thing to do, and we're asking for the high school captains of your teams to help your coaches and administrators. Don't let people drink and drive. Well, I got some big games coming up all over the country in college football. It's a great week, week 5. The season marks the final Saturday of action in the month of September. The most beautiful month is September, which means the focus of the college football will shift to conference play. There's a big-time showdown in the SEC, which stands for Southeastern Conference, with Alabama. They are hosting Georgia, while the key games in the Big Ten are Illinois and Penn State. The Big 12, Oklahoma State and Kansas State highlight the matchup in Week 5. Also, Notre Dame, they will host Louisville in a game that could loom large for the college football playoff positioning. All fair and level work. Well, I got to tell you my thoughts. I'll get right in on it. I know football's great, and there are other games that are not as big as the games that I mentioned. But on Saturday, Western Kentucky and Boston College and Northern Illinois, North Carolina State, they aim to score upsets against ACC opponents, with Texas State, Sam Houston, Washington State, Boise State, Fresno State, UNLV, South Florida, and Tulane atop the list of must-see matchups. That's Big C's thoughts. But I got to tell you, there's a lot of good games I want to get into. It's Alabama versus Georgia. Now, Georgia's favored by 2 at Alabama. And Saturday night's game is the first of several high-profile showdowns in the SEC in the coming weeks. It's going to be big-time football down in the South. Can Alabama quarterback Jalen Milroe and the crew, Kalen DeBoer's team, can they topple the Bulldogs in a real fight? I have no doubt about it. An elephant would maul the Bulldog. But it's a different kind of Bulldog. The last team that beat Georgia was Alabama in the SEC championship game. Well, that's my story. I'm sticking with it. I got a prediction. I'm going to tell you, Alabama, depending on the weather's going to be wet. It's going to be a wet, soggy field. But Alabama's tough at home. Georgia's tough on the road and at home. They struggled against Kentucky early in the year. I'm going to go with Alabama defending their home turf. I got Alabama 28, Georgia 24. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. I got to take you to another big game that I want to tell you is big in the Big Ten. Penn State versus Illinois. Now, Penn State is favored by 18. Think about Illinois. They knocked off Nebraska. They were an underdog, but they knocked off Nebraska. If you think about it, quarterback Luke Adamer is much improved in his second year in Champaign, Illinois, and the defense is allowing only 13 points a game so far. But this Penn State, the Nittany Lions, they're a different breed of cat. The Nittany Lions are a better all-around team. I got Penn State 31, Illinois 21. That's my story, because a Nittany Lion is a different breed of cat. I got Notre Dame. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Well, Notre Dame is a 6.5-point favorite. When you think about the best way to sum up this matchup, Notre Dame will play like a champ, and Notre Dame rushing attack has a record at 632 yards over the last 2 games. But the offense is still struggling to connect on big plays downfield behind quarterback Riley Leonard. Louisville has also impressed a lot of people. Some wins over Austin Peay, not that impressive. And Jacksonville State as well as Georgia Tech. Notre Dame should win this game. This is not your Lou Holtz Notre Dame, but they're still a good team. Notre Dame 28, Louisville 21. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. This is not Northern Illinois coming to town. I got number 4, Kansas State versus Oklahoma State. Kansas State's favored by 5. It's only week 5, so calling this an elimination game in the Big 12 title picture is probably an overstatement. I'm going to have Utah winning the Big 12, but you also got to consider how well Kansas State can play. And Oklahoma State's a good team, but they're not the level of Utah. We saw that last week. Mike Gundy, I'm 40. I'm a man. He has a defense that's allowed over 230 rushing yards to 2 power conferences. That's Arkansas and Utah. His opponents face so far, it showed that they're not as good as we thought they'd be. They aren't who we thought they'd be. I got Kansas State winning that game 28-21. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. And now, what about the good old boys? University of Central Florida versus primetime Deion Sanders. You know, Colorado's favored by 14. The last game, contrasting styles, Shedeur Sanders will be a Heisman Trophy candidate. He has a deep group of receivers. Colorado's averages 41 pass attempts per game. And University of Central Florida, they prefer the ground attack. Coach Gus Malzahn, his squad attempts 55 rushing plays per game. You want to pass it? Pass it. If you want to pass it, don't go to Central Florida. I got Colorado 28. I got Central Florida 24. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I got another big game I want to tell you about. That's them Deer Heels. I want to tell you, and again, it's my opinion, so that's what I'm going to say. Ole Miss and Kentucky. Now, Ole Miss is favored by 17. It's the first real test for Ole Miss. Can the Rebels' high-powered offense stay on track against Kentucky's standout defense? I say, Ole Miss, will you please pass reparations? I got Ole Miss winning that one 42-21. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I got to bring you to another big game, the Ohio State Buckeyes versus the Michigan State Spartans. You'd be nuts not to go with Ohio State. They're favored by 24 points. Michigan State is headed in the right direction under head coach Jonathan Smith, but Ohio State, you'd be nuts not to pick the Ohio State Buckeyes. Ohio State 42, Michigan State 20. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. I got Auburn versus Oklahoma. Oklahoma's favored by 2. They got to play better than they played against Tennessee. Oklahoma leads the SEC in takeaways. They have 12, while Auburn ranks at the top of the conference in giveaways. That's 14. My prediction, Oklahoma 28, Auburn 20. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. I got to tell you, when it comes to a game that I really want to see, it's the University of Southern California. They go up against another Big Ten foe. USC's favored by 15.5. USC should be eager to rebound after last second loss to Michigan last Saturday with quarterback Tyler Van Dyke flatline for the rest of the season. Wisconsin has a tough day against that Trojan defense. In a real fight, a Badger and a Trojan, I think a Trojan would maul a Badger. I got USC 35, Wisconsin 20. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. Now, please don't drink and drive. You college kids, you're out there trying to have fun. Don't let your friends drink and drive. It's one of the easiest things not to do. You know that. Stand up for your teammates and don't let them drink and drive. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. As I mentioned last night, the Dallas Cowboys. How about those Cowboys? They got a 20-15 win over the New York City Giants. And some of the good old boys from Dallas, rumor has it, when they got off the plane and they were ready to get into the bus to go to the stadium, some of the Cowboys, they said, man, there's a lot of hospitality on this East Coast. They provided us some horses. And then Dak Prescott got on that horse, and someone said, hey, Dak, that's not a horse. It's a rat. He said, what? A rat? He said, yeah, it's a rat. Well, that rat is good luck for the Cowboys. Dak Prescott threw for 2 touchdown passes, and the Cowboys got their 7th straight win over the good old boys called the New York City Giants. I got to tell you, Jerry Jones was happy. He was so happy, he said he'll get his own rat, if that makes sense to you. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. You got to think Dallas is happy to get off the losing streak now. Now you can really say with all kind of pride, how about those Cowboys? Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Now I want to get into Big C's NFL this week. There's a lot of good things coming up, and I love NFL football. I know everybody has their own thoughts about betting. 800 Gambler if you're going to bet on games. I don't bet on games. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. I got to tell you, the New Orleans Saints at the Atlanta Falcons. Who that say they're going to beat them Saints? Well, the Eagles said it last week, and they did it. Atlanta's favored by 1.5. How the Saints going from scoring almost 40 points a game, and now they lost one game at home, and they're an underdog on the road at the Atlanta Falcons. Sunday, 1 o'clock p.m. kickoff East Coast time on Fox Sports. It's a big division game with both teams coming off of losses. The Saints offense came back to reality last week, and they lost to the Eagles. But will they lose 2 in a row? I don't know. Atlanta looks pretty tough. They had a narrow loss to Kansas City last week. I think the Saints get on top of the squad. I got the Saints 21, the Falcons 17. That's my story. I'm sticking with it, but I don't bet on games. 800 Gambler, if you have a problem keeping your money in your wallet. What does Sam Jackson say? He said, can you believe the size of those rats in New York City? Dak Prescott thought they were giving him a horse to ride to the game. He was a big old rat. But he played great. I got the Cincinnati Bengals at the Carolina Panthers. They're a 4.5-point favorite. Sunday, 1 o'clock p.m. to kick off East Coast time on Fox. And FUBU! Now, the Bengals are 0-3 and just have not looked good, especially on defense. The Panthers won behind touchdown Andy Dalton last week against the Raiders. And now he gets to face a former team. And look for Dalton to play well against the Bengals. The defense that has issues. It will be a high-scoring game. But in the end, if a Bengal fought a Panther in real life, I gotta go with the Bengal Tigers, if that makes sense. I got Cincinnati 30 and Carolina 20. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. How about the LA Rams at the Chicago Bears? The Bears are favored by 3. It's Sunday, 1 o'clock p.m. kickoff East Coast time. And the Bears are who we thought they were. You want to crown them? Crown them. The Bears are who we thought they were, but they lost last week. Now the Rams, they got a win over the 49ers at home at Levi Stadium. As I tell you, Sunday, 1 o'clock p.m. kickoff East Coast time on Fox and FUBU. Now, the Rams came from behind to beat the Niners last week while the Bears lost in Indianapolis. And Chicago's not running the football, which puts a lot of pressure on former Heisman Trophy candidate and winner Caleb Williams out of USC. The Rams still have Matthew Stafford, who found a way to get his ball down to receivers last week against the 49ers. The Rams get this one behind Stafford, and they drop the Bears to 1-3. I got the Rams 28, the Bears 21. The Bears are who we thought they were. You want to crown them? Crown them. Now, in a real fight, in the Wild Kingdom, I think a bear would maul a ram. But this is a Jurassic Park ram. It's a different breed of ram. That's my story. I'm thinking with it. How about the Minnesota Vikings? Okay, I'm trying to make the Viking horn, but maybe I need to get a new horn. You basically want a real Viking horn? Yeah, I want a real Viking horn too. I hope I didn't hurt somebody's ears. I got the Minnesota Vikings at the Green Bay Packers. The Packers are a 2.5-point favorite. The kickoff is Sunday, 1 o'clock p.m. East Coast time on CBS Sports and Paramount. This is the one game of the week. The Vikings are 3-0, and they are riding high like the Purple Rain defense. Back in the day, the Purple People Eaters. And the Packers are 2-1, have won 2 games playing with Mike Willis playing at quarterback, and that's because he's a great player. And the defense has been outstanding. The same for the Vikings, which means it should be a low-scoring game in Minnesota. But I'm going to tell you, it's hard to go 4-0 in the NFL. Oh, BC, how do you have walking mind? Well, just give me a sense. It's hard to go 4-0 in the NFL. That's just a fact. But this game is at Green Bay. If they were in Minnesota, I would actually go with the Vikings. But I'm going to go with the Green Bay Packers. That's my story at Lambeau Field. Green Bay Packers 24, Minnesota Vikings 21. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. How about those Jacksonville Jaguars at the Houston Texans? The Texans are a 6.5-point favorite Sunday, 1 o'clock p.m. kickoff, East Coast time on CBS Sports and Paramount. Now, the Jaguars are 0-3 coming off a horrible loss on Monday night, which means it's a short week for a team playing bad football. The Texans were not as good last week against the Vikings, but C.J. Stroud, he's going to bounce back, and he's going to bounce back in a big way. I got the Texans 31, the Jaguars 20. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. How about the Pittsburgh Steelers? They're at the Indianapolis Colts. They're a 2-point favorite. Sunday, 1 o'clock p.m. kickoff, East Coast time on CBS Sports and Paramount. We got a feeling the Steelers are going to the Super Bowl. Not so fast, my friend. The great Lee Corso says. Now, the Steelers, this is not your mean Joe Green defense, but they're good. They are 3-0, and their style travels well. They are physically talented on defense, and they will limit the Colts' run game and make Anthony Richardson beat them, and I don't think he can. The Steelers are good. Touchdown Justin Fields will do enough on offense to pull out a victory. Now, can you believe the Steelers are undefeated, and they were not predicted to win their division? I got the Steelers going on the road and winning. Steelers 24, the Colts 17. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. How about those Broncos? The Broncos of Denver at the New York City Jets. Jets. It's a Sunday, 1 o'clock p.m. kickoff, East Coast time on CBS Sports. And a lot like the Dallas Cowboys. Rumor has it, when the Broncos from that Mile High City landed in New York, they thought, wow, look at this New York hospitality. They thought that someone gave them some Broncos to ride to the game. And then you got some players from Denver. They got on the back of these Broncos, and they were trying to get down to the stadium, MetLife Stadium. And someone said, "Hey, Bo Nix." He said, "Yeah, it's pretty nice Bronco, isn't it?" He said, "That's not a Bronco." He said, "What?" He said, "That's not a Bronco, that's a rat." A rat? Yeah, it's a well-trained rat. They got to get rid of those rats in New York City when you mistake a rat for a Bronco. That's my story. Rumor has it was not a Bronco. No pun intended. The Broncos are playing good football right now. Had a win last week on the road, and they stayed in West Virginia because of the weather. And they played well last week, beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in a much tougher defense. And that would be a problem for Bo Nix against touchdown Aaron Rodgers, who got going last week. And I think that continues. Now, you may get the luxury of riding a rat that looks like a Bronco to the game, but this is not your granddaddy's New York Jets. I got touchdown Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets 28, the Denver Broncos 17. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. How about those Eagles? The Philadelphia Eagles, they're a 2.5-point favorite at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Sunday, 1 o'clock p.m. kickoff, East Coast time on Fox Sports and Fubo. It's a second straight road game for the Eagles against the NFC North. After they beat that who that say they're going to beat those Saints. And they beat the Saints last week. The Buccaneers were not that good last week, losing to the Broncos, but that could have been a sandwich game between the Lions and the Eagles. The Buccaneers are so banged up on defense, and the offense had issues last week, and I think that carries over. Who that say the Eagles fly high? Because they take themselves lightly. I got that Philadelphia Eagles 28, Tampa Bay Buccaneers 19. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. The Washington Commanders at the Arizona Cardinals, and the Cardinals are favored by 3.5. It's a Sunday, 4:05 p.m. kickoff East Coast time on Fox Sports and Fubo. This is the second straight road game on a short week for the Commanders, which is tough. And the Cardinals have played well, but they are 1-2, losing to two pretty close games. And I look at Kyler Murray to win a shootout with Jalen Daniels. It will be fun to watch. Jalen Daniels the real deal, but I don't think they have the magic in their hat the way they did against Cincinnati. I got the Arizona Cardinals 35, the Washington Commanders 28. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. I got the New England Patriots at the San Francisco 49ers. And the Niners are favored by 10. Sunday, 4:05 p.m. kickoff East Coast time on Fox Sports and Fubo TV. It's been a long trip for the Patriots. Now, this team is not your Tom Brady's Patriots. They haven't played that great this year. And against the 49er team that has a lot of injuries. Christian McCaffrey's over in England trying to get a hitch in his giddy-up fixed. And then Trent Williams he's injured also. I don't know if he's going to play Sunday, but we'll see. The 49ers blew their game against the Rams last week, and that was last week. But the Niners, they have a lot of players that are banged up too. What happened to that belief that they're the best team in NFL football? And that was me picking them also. But we'll see what happens this week. The 49ers blew their game last week against the Rams. That was in L.A., but they will get back on track. I think touchdown Brock Purdy is going to play well, while the defense will limit a bad New England Patriots team. There's no Trent Williams to protect Brock Purdy's backside, but I think they'll do enough to get a win at home. 10 points is a lot, especially when you haven't played that well this year. I got the 49ers bang down the game 31, the Patriots 14. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. How about those Chiefs? The defending NFL Super Bowl champion, the Kansas City Chiefs. They are favored by 8 at the Los Angeles Chargers. It's Sunday, 4:25 p.m. kickoff East Coast time on CBS Sports and Paramount. Now, the status of the Chargers quarterback, Justin Herbert, you got to watch him. Don't want to get him hurt long term. If he plays, the Chargers have a chance to win. If he doesn't play, I still think they can keep it close because Kansas City, they're a team that Las Vegas loves because they don't cover the spread. The gambler. The Chiefs are playing consecutive road games, and they haven't looked as good as they looked last year when they won the Super Bowl. It would be another close game for them. They just don't have that put-them-away mentality. Travis Kelce's not that healthy. Maybe he's in love. Whatever it is, he's not playing the greatest football that we've seen him play in the past. I got the Chiefs 28, the Chargers 21. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. Cleveland, this is for you. The Cleveland Browns. This is not your Jim Brown's Cleveland Browns, but they're at the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, the Raiders are favored by 1. 1? I guess that's how you were raised. It's a Sunday, 4:25 p.m. kickoff East Coast time on CBS Sports and Paramount. Now, both teams are coming off of bad home losses. The Raiders have been the autumn wind is a Raider. Just win, baby. This is a different Raider team. Devontae Adams has a hitch in his giddy up. The Raiders have been considering a quarterback change. While a lot of people in Cleveland wouldn't mind if Deshaun Watson is not playing well, I think you got to look at what Vegas says. Now, Raiders were favored last week to Carolina, and they lost. They lost bad. The Browns, man, the Raiders got to show me something. They got to show me something. I'm going to go with the Browns. The Cleveland Browns, 21. The Raiders, 20. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. Buffalo Bills at the Baltimore Ravens. Now, Baltimore is favored by 2.5 points Sunday, 8:20 p.m. kickoff East Coast time on NBC and Fubo. It's a big game for AFC superiority. The Bills are playing well as anybody. They're 3-0, while the Ravens are coming off an impressive road victory over, how about those Cowboys? Over the Dallas Cowboys. And the Ravens ran right at the Cowboys, and they will do the same in this one. I think Josh Allen has been great. He's been outstanding. But how much will he have in the tank if touchdown Derrick Henry is going well and running that ball the way he should, getting his chest in the wind? I think the Ravens can run to victory. I think Superman Lamar Jackson will be Superman. I got the Ravens 28, the Buffalo Bills 21. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. I got the Tennessee Titans. They are 1-point favorite at the Miami Dolphins, Monday Night Football, 7:30 p.m. East Coast time. And I'll cover that more on Monday. But it's hard. It's just hard to go against. It's just hard to go against Tennessee at Miami. The weather's bad. Florida, bad. Both teams are not that great, but the Titans are 0-3. It's hard to go 0-4 in the NFL. There's no Tua for Miami. I think the Titans will pull out a close one, maybe 24-21, and then Seattle Seahawks at the Detroit Lions. They're a 4-point underdog. Detroit's favored by 4. It's Monday, 8:15 p.m. kickoff East Coast time on ABC Sports. And Fubu, this is a big game for the Seahawks. They are 3-0, but the schedule hasn't been tough. This game would be tough. The Lions have played well on defense. In a real fight, the Lion would maul a Seahawk. Even one from Jurassic Park. I got the Lions winning this game. The challenge for Geno Smith. The Lions offense hasn't been great, but I think they get it going at home under the dome. I got the Lions 28, the Seahawks 21. Well, that's my story. I'm sticking with it. May lightning strike. Are you ready for the football? Of course you are. I gotta close today's show saying something that, in my mind, is the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. The Oakland Alameda County Coliseum has hosted the Raiders, and the A's. The A's won their final game in Oakland. There's still a slim hope that they'll put together a deal to keep the Oakland A's in Oakland, but not after they go to Sacramento. Sacramento is going to be the pit stop for the A's. Major League Baseball has already said that. The A's leave Oakland a winner. They also leave plenty of tears and 57 years of memories. It's a shame. It's a shame. The last game was Thursday night in the Bay Area. But it's over now. And it's a shame because that franchise has 9 world championships. Only second to the Yankees in Major League Baseball. The franchise delivered 4 World Series championships, 6 pennants, 17 division titles to the Bay Area. It was only appropriate to leave Oakland as a winner. But it's not appropriate to leave overall, but that's what they're doing. It's a shame, but that's the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. I wish them the very best in Sacramento, and if they also end up in Las Vegas, I wish them the very best. Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. It's a shame, but they are deciding to head out. They're going to go up the I-80 corridor about 90 miles away to Sacramento and play in West Sacramento at Sutter Health Park, which holds about 14,000. The Coliseum seats 35,000 for baseball. So they're going to be in a much smaller, more intimate setting. It's just a shame, in my opinion. There are people in Sacramento Valley, they're so excited that the A's are leaving the Bay Area to come to Sacramento. Some of those same fans, they were crying when the Kings were about to leave Sacramento to go to Seattle or Florida or the East Coast or even Vegas. But that's how people are. All fan level war is big business, and that's what big business does. Well, as I always tell you, please have a safe Friday. If you're going to drink, don't drive. If you're going to drive, don't drink. Because mothers against drunk drivers are mad, and fathers against drunk drivers are mad. It's one of the easiest things not to do. You can call Uber, you can call Lyft, you can walk it off, you can sleep it off, but don't let someone you love get behind the wheel of a car and start driving after they've been drinking. The life you save may be your own, or someone you love, or someone who loves you, or someone who's loved by somebody else. Don't let someone drink and drive. If someone's trying to drink and drive, just say, "Spark, are you out of your fucking mind?" Don't do it. It's not worth it. Well, my beautiful mother always says there's never ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. No man, woman, or child should ever go through that crap on their own. If you know anybody going through that crap, you got to call 911. If someone slaps you, I only slapped you because you made me mad. Pick up the phone and call 911. If somebody's kicked you, I only kicked you because you made me mad. Pick up the phone and call 911. If someone's choking you out, I only choked you because you made me mad. Pick up the phone and call 911. You need more LEADER in your life. LEADER is an acronym for love is the answer. If someone loves you, they don't hit you, they don't kick you, they don't beat you. Call 911. Things change when the police show up. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. Well, as I always tell you, I love paying homage to my beautiful family legacy on this beautiful Big C Sports Podcast. On my mother's side, my great-grandparents, Mama and Pop, beautiful, loving, kind people. Always making sure lots of love in the family and lots of food in the belly. And then my great-grandmother, you know how little boys would come from outside playing with our dirty hands, run right for the refrigerator and say, "I'm hungry. I want something to eat now." She said, "Okay, baby, go wash your hands if you want some collard greens and some ribs." I said, "I don't have time to wash my hands, great-grandma. I'm hungry now." She said, "You wash your hands in this?" "Oh, yeah, in this house you wash your hands." I said, "Okay, great-grandma, I wash my hands. We have some collard greens and some ribs." That's my story. I'm sticking with it. And then my beautiful grandfather, great-grandfather, Pop, former military man and former Negro League baseball player, could fix anything. Love them with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And then my beautiful grandparents, Muddy and Hezekiah, they were seers. They could oftentimes look at a person and tell you a lot about their past, their present, and their future. And they still look over me to this day. And then I can always depend on my mama, the most beautiful mama in the history of the universe. She started a Head Start program, a food program, and also coaching all boys Little League baseball team to the championship of the universe. Always saying, "Rise and shine," the best person I ever met in my life. Dear mama, you know my prayers. I've been praying and praying and praying I keep praising God. I deserve it, mama. You know what I'm saying. I deserve it, mama. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. The best person I ever met in my life. I love you, mama. And then on my father's side, my grandparents, Albert and Alberta Curry, they were pastors. They had 3 churches. They owned 2 gas stations in Oakland, but they also owned 40 acres of land. I was 8 years old walking through the hallway. At about 10 o'clock at night in Oakland, I felt someone touch me on my forehead. She said, "What are you doing, young man? Going to get some cookies?" I said, "What are you doing, Grandma? It's 10 o'clock at night. You normally go to bed at 8:30. She said, "What are you doing, young man? Going to get some cookies?" I said, "Cookies and baby crap to what I'm doing, Grandma. I'm going to get my reparations." But a couple of cookies wouldn't hurt. It's been a long wait. She said, "There's something about your voice. I love hearing you speak." And I'm on 29 podcast applications and streaming on 4 TV platforms. I love my grandparents with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Then my beautiful father, former United States Air Force fighter pilot, chief mechanic, always making sure that planes can fly high so we can all stay safe at night. Always seeing the develop your mind to its highest extent. I love my dad with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Then my beautiful brother Todd with that bombastic voice, sound like thunder and lightning when Todd would speak. A voracious reader, always saying go forward. He said, "You know how much backside, so don't look back in life. Always go forward." I said, "I love my backside, Todd." He said I needed to do more squats so I can have a bigger backside. Now people get injections for backside. I just do more squats, and that stuff is working. That stuff is working with those 501 genes. I love Todd with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Now we love Malcolm X, but we also love the movie called Pulp Fiction. It had Sam Jackson, What's in Your Wallet, John Travolta, Bruce Willis, and Ben Raines. Before the big fight, Ben told Bruce, he said, "Get your butt over here." He said, "Your butt goes down in the 5th round. Now see that flip." Bruce said, "Okay, my butt goes down in the 5th round." He told him, "That stinging sensation you feeling, well, that's just pride flubbing with you." And he told him what a lot of football players will tell each other this weekend. He said, "Flub pride." He said, "Pride only hurts. It never helps." He said, "Football's filled with a lot of unrealistic, muddly bluckers who think that butt gets better in time like fine wine, but it don't. In terms of vinegar, then it do. One day you're going to thank Uncle Marsalis when you're chilling in the Caribbean. You're going to say, Uncle Marsalis is right. Now take this money." We know Bruce didn't take the dive, and he lost his LA privileges. I love Todd with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. My beautiful daughter, Daisy, the most beautiful daughter in the history of the universe. College graduate with 2 degrees with honors in 3.5 years from a major university. Daisy set up the very first interview for a Big C Sports podcast. It became the first time in the history of the United States that NFL Monday Night Football started broadcasting live on the Wall Street Business Network. They had never done that before. They would normally go to ESPN, but because of 2 black men in the crew, they started doing their thing on Salem Media. And then Daisy, one time she scored 6 goals in a soccer game left-footed, and she's a right-footed kicker. It was Daisy for the kick, Daisy for the goal, 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 goal. Daisy, I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Always pray Isaiah 54:17, that no weapon formed against you will prosper. You can be anything you want to be. Always trust God. I'm so proud of you. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Then my beautiful, handsome son, Malcolm, the most handsome son in the history of the universe. College graduate, very smart, erudite, a good man. Malcolm, you can be anything you want to be. Always trust God, Isaiah 54:17. I pray that no weapon formed against you will prosper. Malcolm helped me save trees. I used to always get the newspaper and look up stats for players and teams for Big C Sports Podcast. And one day Malcolm said, "Dad, why don't you just Google it?" And a light bulb went up. I've been Googling ever since, and now I'm streaming on 29 podcast platforms and on 4 TV platforms, Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV. One day Malcolm said, "Dad, you want to see Big C Sports on TV?" I said, "Sure." He said, "Pick up the remote, aim it at the TV, and say, play Big C Sports. You'll see your show come up." That's before it was even on the air. And shortly after, it's streaming on 4 TV platforms, Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV. Malcolm, I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. You can be anything you want to be. Always trust God. And then Big C, with all that wealth and knowledge over the years, like my great-grandparents coming out of that barn with their church buddies, always saying you got to believe, you got to believe, you got to believe. Say, let's get ready to rumble. I love to say welcome to the show. And we're nominated Big C Sports Podcast. I have no scripts. I have no 3-minute teleprompters. I have no producer in my ear. All I have is this gland in the brain called the pineal gland. The ancients call it the third eye. That's how you talk to God. And And that's why I scream so loud, because I want God to hear it. God, you hear my prayers. You hear my praise, my praise, my praise. I deserve it now, God. I deserve it now. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Issachar. It's Issachar moment for Big C Sports Podcast. Well, that's my story. I'm sticking with it. I always pay homage to Malcolm X, Martin Luther King Jr., and Muhammad Ali. Back in the day, there's a man known by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He's known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, you float like a butterfly, and you sting like a bee. Rumble, young man, rumble. He said, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Ali said, I'm so pretty, I can't possibly be beat. And every time I listen to Big C Sports, I want to champion reparations now, reparations forever. Thank God Almighty, we're reparations at last. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. Well, I pay homage to Dr. King and President Abraham Lincoln. What do we want? Reparations. What do we want? Now. What do we want? Reparations. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Reparations. When do we want it? Now. I thank you. I appreciate you. And I hope that you have a super fantastic day.
Looking for a unique point of view on pro sports game analysis? Then tune in to Big C Sports Podcast on iHeartRadio. Get real sports talk worldwide. Miss a live episode? Replay it on demand on the iHeartRadio app. Join Big C, former NFL player and longtime award-winning radio broadcaster, covering all sports including NFL, NBA, MLB, UFC, NCAA, USL, and more. Tune in live or on demand on iHeartRadio Podcast today.